Demon Souls is infuriatingly fun, and I love hating it. I love all the Soulsborne games From Software has released, and I especially love the challenge these games bring, but this bad boy right here, this bad boy, feels unique when it comes to its difficulty. It's unique in ways such as the world and character tendency, some of the amazingly fun level design, but first I want to address the elephant in the room. No, not that one. This one. I've never played the original Demon Souls from 2009, and I know there's been plenty of videos made online with the consensus being that the original is better, especially with its art direction, but for this video, I'll only be focusing on the remake. Now with that said, let's talk about the levels. The levels are the main focus for difficulty here, not the bosses. Although there are a couple of challenging bosses, most of them are just gimmicks, or very mechanically simple. The challenge from Demon Souls levels comes from a plethora of tight corridors filled with an overwhelming amount of enemies, not to mention other level gimmicks like ganks, enemies coming around corners, or here, where enemies jump off of a roof to ambush you. Starting with the first archstone, we have Boletaria Palace. Alright, so here we go. Again, tight corridors, lots of enemies. They mix in archers with other enemies here, so now you have to dodge swords and arrows flying at you. You can't even get around some of the enemies because the corridors are so tight, so you just go f*** yourself and end up hitting the wall with your sword like an idiot. Oh, and don't forget the fire-breathing dragons. In the Stonefang Tunnel, here you have these Schmeagle-looking goblins that hit you like a truck. They hit you like a brick wall with their pickaxes, and they sometimes pop up around corners. This will also be your first time fighting the Fat Official, who can just absolutely devastate you with their fire bending. Also, for some reason, I got invaded here twice. I don't know why.
Oh, let's go, baby. What's up? What's up? I'm getting... What? How? Explain that to me, please.
2 hours later.
Wait, you know what? I have an idea. Okay, never mind.
The Tower of Latria, otherwise known as Jail. We have tight corridors part, I don't even know at this point, except now we have Squidward tentacle looking ass dudes, and they shoot some electric green net at you to freeze you in place and then come over to you and just destroy your life. Not to mention some convenient holes in the ground that you probably won't notice while running through this place, so you have to slow down or else you'll just completely fall to the bottom of an endless pit. Before the first boss, they had this statue that unloads arrows into you across this bridge, and you could go around, or you could be a pro gamer and roll through them, so it's perfectly up to you. This level is more like a puzzle. You have to run around and get a key and then run back to this jail cell to open it, to then go through this doorway, to then get another key, to run all the way across the prison to get a different key to open this door, and it's just sounding like a whole lot of Pepe Sylvia at this point, isn't it? The Shrine of Storms. What can I even say about this level? The Flying Dutchman constantly shoots at you like, dude, chill out already. Okay, not to mention all the skeletons attacking you at the same time. And then, oh my god, the tight corridors with these skeletons, but it's on the edge of a cliff, so now you can just fall off of it. Like, the tight corridors, it never ends in this game. Then you think it's finally gonna get easier when you don't have the Flying Dutchman constantly shooting at you, and then you realize you have these ghosts that you have to fight. Endlessly spawning ghosts, which comes from these Reapers. Don't even get me started on these mofos. If you kill the one Reaper, at least it gets rid of all of the ghosts instantly, but the amount of times I've had a soap dropping experience with these ghosts pulverizing me in the corner, it needs to be studied. I found out after my playthrough that you're actually supposed to use the Soul Remains item because it distracts them, and even the ones that shoot lasers, it'll cause them to shoot wherever you've thrown it. Lastly, we have Shrek's Swamp. the Valley of Defilement. This is Demon Souls' version of Blighttown, and I'm gonna keep this one simple since you've heard me say it a million times already. Tight corridors, moving through a poison swamp, getting swarmed by enemies, it has it all. The boss runbacks are a huge challenge because now it becomes a patience game. Do I say fuck it and try to run past all of the enemies, or carefully clear them out again? Most of the time, I decide to run past them, but it just turns out this way. Hilarious, right? Yeah, so funny. This was only a third of the way through. Now watch the entire boss run. These boss runbacks are insanely long compared to newer entries in the series like Elden Ring that just spawn you right outside of the boss arena. I'm glad this has changed over the years because the runbacks just put me to sleep. Absolute snooze fest, if you ask me. Finally, now we get to talk about the bosses, one of, if not the best part of the Soulsborne games. I already mentioned that most bosses are gimmicks or very mechanically simple, and this makes sense considering this is FromSoft's first entry in the Souls series. As the series progresses, however, the bosses grow more challenging and more mechanically advanced. The simple mechanics result in an overall slower pace for the gameplay in Demon Souls. It's almost turn-based combat, where you, the player, have your turn to attack, and then you back off and the boss is their turn to attack. So what's the difference between a gimmick boss and a non-gimmick boss? Well, the gimmick bosses have some sort of trick that you have to use in order to defeat them, whereas the non-gimmick bosses, you just use your skill. The non-gimmick bosses, conversely, don't have a trick. You just use your skill, or just cheese them if you feel like it. A couple examples of non-gimmick bosses in this game can be the Penetrator, Old King Allant, the Flame Lurker, Man-Eaters, Leechmonger, Dirty Colossus. Examples of gimmick bosses in this game are Fouling, Tower Knight, Dragon God, Fool's Idol, Old Monk, Adjudicator, Old Hero, Storm King. The Tower Knight, you have to swipe at his ankles like you're a razor scooter over and over, just peppering away at his ankles. Eventually he's gonna fall over, where you have to run over and then slash away at his head. Dragon God, you actually have to hide from him. You can see his eyes. They change color from yellow to orange depending on if he sees you or not. And when he's not looking, then you run through the path. You'll eventually reach this giant cannon where you can shoot him, and you have to run to the other side and do it again. The Adjudicator is similar to the Tower Knight, except instead of hitting his ankles with the razor scooter, you have to hit this giant meat cleaver in his stomach. Then he's gonna fall over. Again, you attack his head. The Old Hero is blind. He can only hear you. So if you put on the Thieves Ring, which masks your footsteps, then it's just a piece of cake. You just run up to him, hit him, he has no idea where you are. Now, what is world and character tendency? You can see this like a karma system, but with a twist. It controls the difficulty of the game. Being on the evil side brings your tendency to black levels, and thus making the game harder by strengthening enemies, increasing their health and attack power while lowering your health. You now get punished for dying over and over again. On the flip side though, having a higher white world tendency makes the game easier due to enemies becoming weaker and your attack power raising. Character tendency is very similar, only difference is that PvP also affects this stat. It has the same results. All of the specifics can be found on the Demon Souls wiki, and I highly suggest reading into it because this system is extremely intricate. A couple of other random details about the difficulty. Number 1, you can't level up until beating Phalanx, the first boss. If you're struggling, you just have to tough it out until you beat him. There's literally nothing you can do. Dying puts you in soul form with half your health. Half of it's just gone. Poof. At the very least, you can can use the Cling Ring to bring it up to 75% health, and you find it very early on in the game. Overall, I think Demon Souls is an amazing game. It can be frustrating at times, but it's still extremely fun. The Demon Souls remake is actually one of the reasons I bought a PlayStation 5 back in 2023, with the other reason being Bloodborne, that is. If you've never played a Soulsborne game before, definitely give the series a try. It's actually incredible. If you made it to the end of this video, I just want to say, thanks for watching. Have an amazing day.